This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast today, Jordan Morrow.
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, thanks
you
for
said
coming
that
on.
so like powerfully. I'm like, man, that's not me, but yeah, it's got to be me.
I know, it's like my intro, right? Just like, poof. No, I always say ladies and gentlemen, and I know there's a category out there who get angry with me, but I'm not quite big enough for them to come after me yet. I just said it from like the very beginning, and just like
just habit, and it's like I think I've been like it's habit, and it's hard to break habits at times, and that's how we do.
I've said ladies and gentlemen and everyone else a couple of times.
Yeah.
Just to, encompass everyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Put them all in a nice little jar and get moving from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fun. I have a fun question for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. For $1 million, if you had a fight, would you take on 100 10-year-olds or would you take on 10 100-year-olds?
If I had to fight
For $1 million.
10 100-year-olds, man. I'm sorry. I would, right? Like I've seen old people, right? I've got an 11-year-old. He's almost 10.
Yeah, okay,
right?
there you go.
And I've coached their baseball and all that for a long time.
Yeah.
Hundreds of those. I'm sorry, one of them's going to hit me in the wrong spot and take me down. Those 100-year-olds, I think I'm going to still have an advantage. There's only 10 of them,
Yeah.
right? You hit them once and the hit might break, right? And so that's where I'm going.
I got you. See, for me, it's not about the money. Line those kids up.
One by one, let's go.
Just one by one, line them up.
That's awesome.
No, I've stole that joke from someone I saw on TikTok one time.
Oh, yeah.
It's someone asked that question, and then he like splits it into his portion of it, right? He goes, it ain't about the money.
It ain't about
Line
the money.
them kids up.
Give me those kids now.
Pow, pow. And see, and I just, it caught me in a special moment because I just coached my son's football team, right? And they're all 10. They're all 9 and 10.
You get it.
So there was like, I don't know, 20 of them, right, at every practice. And I was like, yeah, line them up.
Yeah. Oh, hey, having coached my son, lucky comp baseball and all that.
Yeah.
With a couple of us, we've coached together for a long time. The kids are great.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are sometimes, man. There was one player on the team. I don't know how many times I joke. You're sitting on the sideline. He's in the outfield or something, not paying attention. And I'm just glad I haven't had an aneurysm trying to get after him. And thankfully, parents have been good with us. I'm not the most vocal with parents or umps, but sometimes yell at those kids to get their attention. It's like that would be the one. Line 100 of them up. That one.
That's the one I want. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So fun. I like to ask most people, right? How do we meet?
Man, we met through someone who has a podcast. Nick Allen, man, got us to a golf event. I think we shared the cart.
Yeah.
And it was just a fun, great day. Yeah. Man, my daughter, who people on camera, you can't see, she's sitting with us in here, was asking what your personality is. Like, man, he's fun. Like he's ball of energy and he's fun. And so anybody who's watched your podcast, we were playing at Thanksgiving Point in Utah, playing in that par 3 tournament. Yeah. Drinks were flowing and it was just a goofball afternoon. It's like, let's go have some fun. And
actually, that day, that's funny. We were talking about that. That was one of the. It was the second to last bump to make me do this.
Nice.
I've wanted to do a podcast forever. It was the first day I met Jimmy.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably.
And Jimmy had his podcast. I don't even know how many episodes he had out. Yeah. But it's decently established. I would be guessing about 100.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Maybe
because it was the summer I think I met you and I was on the podcast I think that year with him and we were talking about he didn't even have this studio yet. We were at his house with two pop-up microphones.
Yeah, I've heard he went around for a while.
And so I came down here after golfing one morning and was on his podcast episode. But yeah, it was early stages for me with that one.
Yeah, it was not. It was one of the things I liked about him. He was just like, yeah, man, just do it. And like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I know that's the answer to this. Like, I don't know. Like I heard it from him and I was just kind of like, yeah, you're right. I just need to do this. And then I think, when did we do that? Was it like in the fall?
It was like August.
Yeah. So by like October, I had bought Joe Rogan's exact podcasting equipment.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's why I was telling you before we started.
That's why it's so expensive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I've got servers and mixers and I got 4 mics, 4 cameras, like all this stuff, right? And I've had a bunch of sound engineers come in, and they can't get it all to work.
Can't get it working.
Most of the problem is a stupid server I bought, which is I don't know 30% of that cost.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's for live. So if we were doing this live, it actually changes our voices. It changes it just makes it perfect. It's basically a sound.
It's like listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, right? Where it's literally there's your sound.
Yeah.
It's like being in a room like this together.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's cool. So yeah, that was. When was it? Was that August 2020? It's been a couple years.
Dude, I think it was 2019.
Was it 2019 pre-COVID?
It was pre-COVID.
Wow.
Because we were definitely.
So I didn't go. So I'm wrong then. I was on Jimmy's in 2020. I think I was on it during COVID. Yeah. God, I can't believe it, man. We're just old. That's the answer to that, Mark.
We're getting old. There.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
We're still sexy and hot and all that good stuff.
Now are you 41 yet?
I'm 40. No, I've got
40,
so speaking of those, Jimmy and Nick are mutual friends. They've got me by some months, and Jimmy especially. Nick's 2 months older than me.
Yeah. Okay. So because Jimmy is, we're in the same month. His birthday's like October 7th.
October. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm the 23rd.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
But you're 40. I think I'm older than you.
I'm 41.
Are you 41?
I'm 41.
Oh, man,
yeah, we're 2000, right?
Yeah, I'm 2000.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Look at all your friends.
Oh, yeah.
Bunch of weirdos.
And we're all white hair now. And if I have got the beard shaved, we've just got the stash and soul patch. But if I have the beard in, there's probably more white than
I was going to say, I think last time you had a beard, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. I shaved to just have the stash. I get bored. It's not like I didn't do it for November or whatever. And obviously I've kept it and we're at the end of December, but I just get bored. Now, I don't do clean shaven. And my wife would kill me if I did.
When I do the clean shaven, I feel very aware of what my face looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, have you seen those memes or whatever? It's like women have makeup, men have beards.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like I feel naked. Yeah. Like I don't like it. I feel like I look so young. I'm like, no, we'll just go. And my wife and I have been married 17 years. And of those 17 years, I've probably been clean shaven 2 to 3 of it in like total.
Was it the first part?
What's that? No. I had a goatee. If you look at my wedding pictures or whatever. You? Yeah. Nice. So it's, I've had
you
facial hair. You just
fixed your T-bird and then you went and got married.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. I don't know. I didn't do facial hair probably until I was like 30.
See, it was my wife. Like she was all over the facial hair stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, she'd have me dyeing it, like mascara dye it. Just
really?
Oh yeah, I mean she was all over it. And now if I'm clean shaven, she'll say she doesn't care. Yeah. But my kids hate it. Like when I got rid of the beard and just kept this, I think it was my 5-year-old is like, why'd you do that? Like you shaved. What are you doing that for? It's like, no, it's just, it'll come back.
I'm offended.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a 5-year-old, it is your choice.
Yeah. Yeah. How you're going to react to this and how you feel about this is all you.
That's how I will make my life choices.
Then you go watch something real violent that night just to bring you back to reality.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm okay. Turn Maverick on where all the mustaches came from anyway.
Exactly.
Just be like, that's it. I'm good.
Yeah. I did shave a mustache in during the football season.
Oh yeah.
My wife does not like a mustache.
Oh really?
Like loud vocal protest, won't go out with me.
No, I'm not leaving when you have that.
Yeah. Oh no. So I shaved a mustache in. Because like you, I just got in the mood.
Oh yeah,
I was just in there. I was going to clean the beard up, and I was just like, zit, zit, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
I was like, what do you think?
Yeah. Nope. So I come out in my coaching gear, right? And it was half a second. She's like, no, go shave the rest of it. I'm like, oh yeah, not today, babe.
You're like, we'll just grow this out, and leave this for
exactly.
I remember when she's like, no. When were my wife and I engaged at the time? But anyway, I show up, we're at the University of Utah. I've got a beanie on and she just looks at it. She's like, nope, something like that. Yeah. It's like, oh, apparently this does not look good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I think that's rude.
No, we are. Yeah, exactly. I am growing out enough. The handlebars will be back.
Oh, you're going to go all the way?
Yeah, back in 2015 or 16, I had a killer handlebar mustache. We'll bring that back for a little.
Oh, after the podcast, I'll have to show you one of my buddies, dude, on Instagram. He has got the perfect cowboy, just
that's awesome.
Perfect circle, dude. It's like,
that's awesome.
Wow.
It's tough. People don't realize. I was talking to someone the other day, how much wax you put in it. It's like training it, I think. You're like, at first it might come up and then it folds back or whatever. You're like, nope, just got to keep going.
Yeah,
so we'll bring it back.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, let's talk about your career a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you are a data fanatic.
I am.
Right?
I am. Well, go ahead.
No, explain to people what I mean by that.
So I like if you were to go see my car that is parked outside the studio here, I've got a license plate that says Chief Nerd. So for me, like I've got 2 nicknames in my industry. So I work in data and analytics, right? One of my nicknames is Chief Nerd Officer. That one I'm good with. Another one is the Godfather of Data Literacy, which sometimes I'm good with. Sometimes I'm like, that just sounds I don't know what I think about that. Yeah. And the reason I have the nickname is I invented or helped invent an entire field in data and analytics. And it permeates the globe now. I travel the world. I spoke at the United Nations. I'll be in South Africa in March. I'm going to Nike's headquarters in February. I have one company bringing me out next year. It's like 14 to 17. It's like probably 14 minimum engagements, upwards of 17. Yeah. And so when I say the Godfather of Data Literacy, it's kind of interesting because so many people, you and I have talked about data with your work and stuff before, right?
Yeah.
So many people, I think, look at data in the sense that it's boring, it's mundane, and it can be. Let's face it, right? But all of us use data regularly. And so, like, I'm looking up there, you've got a clock, it's got the date, it's got multiple things on there. That's data. When you go travel, I know you travel, I travel, I'm checking my weather app. What's the weather going to be like? And that's data. And the field that I helped invent, data's not going anywhere, right? You can scan everything, right? There's documentaries on the misuse of data and all that. So data literacy is helping people who don't want to be the data nerd, who don't want to be the analytical nerd, be comfortable with it.
Right.
And so I public speak on it. I teach on it. I love it.
Well, you've written a book on it?
I've written two. I've written two books. Yeah. My third one, the manuscript, might be fully done. I'm hoping I have no more edits.
Right.
And I already have my ideas for the fourth. And it's all about, I don't like the mundane. Like, I truly am a nerd. I love math. I love statistics. Love that stuff. Probably 99% of people don't. But you can utilize data in your career to do pretty amazing things. Like I think I told you, I joined Jimmy's We Are the They. Mm-hmm. He and I went to lunch before the Christmas holiday. I'm going to be building data for We Are the They for the next, who knows how long, could become full-time on it, because I see what he wants to do. I know what he wants to do. And I don't want to, I think sometimes we think of data and technology, we want to get rid of the human. No, Jimmy, we need your intuition. We need your ideas. Let me bring data along with it and see how we can make We Are the They bigger. And so that's when we say fanatic. I love this stuff. I think that there's power, but I don't ever want people to think, oh, I have to be a data scientist. I've got to do statistics. I've got to learn how to code. No, you don't. Yeah. Can we just help you utilize data better?
Right.
Make better decisions. That's it. That's what we want to do. And so
how'd you get into it?
It's interesting. So I was at American Express. So my very first ideas for data literacy itself are kind of interesting. I was at American Express and I ran, and I won't go into too, hopefully not much jargon because no one cares. But there's a term out there, business intelligence. And there are tools that are business intelligence tools, like a Microsoft Excel would be a business intelligence tool. Most people know Excel. You might have heard of Tableau, Domo in Utah. Those are these types of tools. So when I was at American Express, I would travel to New York kind of often to our headquarters. I worked in Utah. I trained people on how to use the dashboards we were making. But training someone on a dashboard doesn't train them how to use data. It's just pointing and clicking. And so I actually came up with an idea. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I teach them basic statistics? They could do more with the data. Presented it to my executive vice president at the time, and she flat turned me down. She's like, no, they're not ready for that. Just like teach them the dashboard or whatever she said, maybe later. And I don't know if you like the TV show Big Bang Theory or have ever seen it. If you know who Sheldon, you know who Sheldon is. This executive vice president was a PhD in physics and socially awkward like crazy. Think of Sheldon. Yeah. I didn't realize at the time what I was stumbling upon. And so they wanted to change my job. I don't know if that idea ever left me to teach people analytics, if you will. And so a company had a job opening. I went for it. And it almost, I was talking to the guy who hired me recently, I almost backed away completely. It was basically an analytics teaching sort of job. The person who was hiring for the job had this idea that we're going to have everybody be able to use data. And we can see that kind of in society today. And on the very first interview, he was like, this is yours, but you have to go through the interview process. But what I didn't know is the recruiter got in a car accident, and that's the bad part. But we couldn't get in contact, My wife and I were like, whatever, we're done, right? If they reach out, as soon as they found out what was going on, they put someone new on it, we take the job. That's 2016. Fast forward to 2017. I don't know, have you ever heard of a research or an analyst firm called Gartner before? Gartner's a big research firm, and maybe that's what you call them, analyst firm. They launched an article in like February or March 2017 about data literacy, not knowing in 2016 I was already building it. And they wanted to talk to me. I don't know if my company set it up or they did. And the rest is history. Like, traveled and spoke to companies all over the globe, whether in person or virtually. It blows me away where it is. I'm a published author, 2 books, 3rd book coming out. I never would have guessed it, but I think it resonates with people. One, I can public speak. I make it exciting because I'm not telling you, go back to statistics. If I came to you and said, Mark, let's talk statistics all day long on your podcast, worst reviewed episode you probably would ever have. But if I can say, hey, let me show you a few things that you can do with data, it's pretty freaking cool. Think about, do you play fantasy football? Or do you like, think about how much data goes behind that. It's unreal. Like, and so it's interesting to see where I am. I never would have thought it would take me where it is. But I'll take it. I love it. I'm as nerdy as they come. I love doing it. So yeah.
No, so when you go to, like, say you go to Nike, right? You go to Nike in February. What will you present to them?
So it's very interesting because
and who are you speaking to when you're there?
Yeah, it all depends on the company. Like, for example, what is it? 2 weeks from now, I'm doing a virtual session for a company called Epsilon. 90,000 people are invited to it. Nice. So probably get anywhere from 10 to 30,000, but the recording will be company wide. Nike, I've done some virtual events for them, whether it was in the Americas or EMEA. They have, I don't know exactly, or if I do, I don't remember what groups have been invited, but they have an internal data summit. I'm the only external speaker that's being flown in. So I'll go to headquarters. They're ordering probably, maybe it's the Hope. I think they had a category of 100, 200, 300 books. I want to say they're doing the 300. They'll put the Nike logo on it, I think. So it's pretty freaking cool. I'm teaching them about data literacy. So it's whatever audience they're bringing in, companies eat this up because they're investing so much money in being able to use their data, right? Think of a company like Nike, right, who has so much data being pumped through all the time. But what if they can't use it? Or what if they're underutilizing it? So I will go in and teach them how to use it better. I'm not going to teach them code. I'm not going to teach them really technical things. I'll teach them about how to make better decisions with data. What can you do differently? That sort of thing. And how can those that are not data professionals at Nike get better at using data? The company that's bringing me out for 14 to 17 engagements is KPMG. They're going to fly me out to, they have a place in Orlando called the Lake House. Every session will be at the Lake House. It's a new campus they built not long before COVID hit, so they haven't really been using it to its full extent till now. They'll fly me out, and I think I'm teaching literally over those 14 to 17 sessions, everybody in KPMG's audit group. And it'll be data literacy. What can you do better? What can you do with KPMG data to get better? So it just kind of depends. The event in South Africa is a product agnostic conference. And so I'm a keynote speaker at that conference. So it could be, you could have C-level executives, you could have data analysts. It just kind of depends who gets invited and goes.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, so
do they ask you questions?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I encourage them to.
They get it pretty interactive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's data, right? If I'm going in there, unless you are a technical junkie or someone who is technical with data, you're going to lose people, right? And so what I do, if I'm virtual, I tell them, just throw it in the chat as we're going. And if I can get to it in the flow, we'll get to it. Yeah. If not, I'll leave 10, 15, whatever minutes at the end for Q&A. And sometimes I'll just say, if we can't get to them all, shoot me an email with all of them. I'll send the email responses back to you. If I'm in person, I ask them questions when I'm up there. I don't care how big the audience is. If it's huge, show me your hands. If it's small enough, I'll ask. I have a rule when I present. Now, it kind of, I think, loosens people up right at the beginning. And that is, if I have, how many of you like awkward silence is what I'll ask them. Yeah. And I'll say, if I ask a question and you don't answer, I'm going to create awkward silence. And people chuckle and all that. But I'll be like, no, try me. I'll stare at you until someone talks. Yeah. And I think that can loosen them up. Yeah. But like this year alone, I will do, most of them are virtual, 50 public speaking engagements. Yeah. I mean, it's unreal the amount of invites coming in for this sort of thing.
Well, that's a lot of fun. I mean, you enjoy it, obviously.
Oh, I love public speaking. Yeah. A lot of people don't. I have fun with it. Like it, and I have no like illusions in my mind that my ability to public speak is one reason that I am where I am. Yeah. Because data is a tough topic to excite people on.
Yeah.
But if I can get interactive and get people excited to do something, heck yeah, let's do it. And so, yeah, I love public speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, without going into the numbers per se, but this is a lucrative part of your life,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. It's very interesting. I've had multiple people over the years be like, why aren't you on your own? Like doing data for Jimmy. Yeah. We are the they. He and I have come up with kind of the draft plans and all of that. Eventually I'll be on my own, I bet. So when I took the job that I'm at, which headquarters isn't too far from where we are now.
Yeah. Are you over at Proofpoint?
What's that?
No, where are you at?
BrainStorm.
Oh, BrainStorm. That's
BrainStorm,
right.
yeah. So their headquarters isn't too far from here. When I got hired, I told them, I public speak and I want to keep public speaking. I think they like it because every time I'm public speaking, Jordan Morrow, Vice President and Head of Data and Analytics at BrainStorm, right? So their name gets out there. I probably get more viewers than our marketing group does, to be honest. And so,
I can see that. Jordan, when you do the public speaking, do you still engage with the people that listen to you? Are you gaining like a following?
Oh, 100%. I've got... And I part of me knows that you should be confident in your accomplishments. But I just won an award, I think, was it an award? Recently, I didn't even know I was up for. Right, I've probably won 10 or 12 awards over the last few years as top data and analytics influencers. I just got a notification that my book, I think it was my second book, Be Data Driven, which is about organizations using data, was like a top 10 or top 20 book for entrepreneurs. So absolutely. I'm not big on like Instagram or whatever, but LinkedIn, which of course is the business side of it, thankfully a nice following on there. And it's funny too, because I'm introverted to a degree, right? And so I don't know if I ever wanted to do that, but when I was at Click, the company that hired me that kind of helped me get this going, I had someone there who was like, no, you have to. Yeah. And thankfully she did. So I post regularly on there. From a lucrative perspective, I mean, it's kind of blows me away. Some companies pay handsomely. And the nice thing is, since it is a side business, I can charge whatever. Yeah. Like I've had one company is like, oh, I gave them kind of a standard rate. And they're like, oh, this is our budget. It was drastically lower. I'm like, great, go with it. Yeah. You know, and I'll have some like a guest lecture, I don't know what you want to call it, at Columbia University. And it's like, I never count on them paying me, but they'll give me a little stipend. And it's like, sweet, that's awesome. And then you have some when you hit big hitters like a Fidelity Investments. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what to charge. I had a friend who charged a nice fee, one-time fee for like a 60-minute session. I went for the exact same and they approved it. Yeah. It's like, sweet. There you know, it's nice to have the nice side income just coming in, and the books, they sell really well. So it's like, there's more coming in it. So eventually being on my own is probably where I'm going to end up, where I do consulting for certain things. Like we've talked about, Jimmy and I have talked about, keep my public speaking up and things like that. Yeah.
I had a guy on named Al Switzler that wrote the book, Crucial Conversations.
Oh yeah.
And he built a massive consulting firm. Yep. And, it was really interesting. You should, if you haven't listened to that podcast show, you should listen to it, because his passion, he's been retired for 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And his passion in it, it's still there. You can hear it. You can feel it in him. And he's an educator at the core. So he, you know, he taught at Michigan, at SoCal. Yeah. You know, he was, or USC, not SoCal, SoCal. And it was fun to see the consulting side of him. Because I kind of got a little side of me that likes to consult. You know, or like, teach, right? It's more like teach.
It's teach. And that's for me, I don't know how many people know this. I went to school for a bit to be a math teacher. And I love teaching, which is why when I can public speak and I can get in front of people, Columbia's like, hey, do you want to come guest teach? It's like, well, first off, you're Columbia University. Hell yeah, I want to come teach. Yeah. But number two, get in front of students. They flew me out to the campus in June this year. Freaking awesome, right? So that ability to teach, and what's interesting about this field of data literacy that I'm talking about is there are certain companies that have popped up that focus on it, but they have niches within the entirety that is the field, whereas I play the whole field with it. And it just brings so many teaching opportunities where it could be someone who is advanced, and how do you interact with them, to someone like who has no idea what to do, so we want to have little skills. Like there was a person I met on the trail. I was trail running one day. My first book had come out. She said congrats, and her comment to me was something to the effect, I'm probably too stupid to read it or understand it, which misses the point. The whole point is it's for everybody. Now let's show you how you can use it. So to your point, the consulting or teaching side, 100%. When I get brought in at Nike, part of what I help at Nike is teaching them, how do you view this? What can you do differently? What could you do here? And that it's engaging, it's enjoyable, and you get to meet so many amazing people through it.
Yeah. Now, when you're so Nike, just because it's kind of fun talking about them, everyone knows who Nike is.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're looking at, do you get to actually see their data? It all depends on the companies. Sometimes they want, I think, just pure do your own thing. Yeah. But with Nike, yeah. So for the engagements I've already done, I think what I got from them initially was more what initiatives they're looking at. But for this event come February, my contact there who's bringing me out, yeah, we'll probably look at data. And it comes with contracts and things like that, non-disclosures. Yeah. And I like having those on my side. There's one organization in Florida. They're all virtual. It's 10 sessions in total or 12. I think it's 10. But they had in their contract one of those things that says anything you create during this engagement, we own. Right. And I'm like, hold on, everything created beforehand I keep, but I create as I go. I want to own that. I don't want you to own that. And they relented. Yeah. It's mine. And I think that matters because I'm not one of those build your standard PowerPoint and that's it forever. It morphs or it might evolve, right? But yeah, I mean, it's seeing some of the data. And there are things that data can help. Like, I don't know, you saw Nike, what, a month or two ago? Had like supply chain or stock issues. Mm-hmm. And it's like, boom, look at that example of how we can use data to help it so you don't have stocking issues. Like I'm wearing Nikes right now, right? You've got Nikes on right now. If you ever need something, let me know. Yeah. They hook me up. Massive discounts. Yeah. And when I'm there in February, my buddy's like, hey, we'll have to take you to the employee store. It's like, yes, you will. You will be taken. But I mean. I'll make sure you have my sizes.
Please do. And I'm speaking in the Tiger Woods Center or whatever it's called. I mean, it's just so freaking cool. I mean, but yeah, I mean, getting some proprietary information and things like that, you bet I got to shut up. I can't share it, but yeah, they'll share some.
If you were to look at some of it, right, you kind of geek out on it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because for me, and if people were to ask me, I've been on the strategic side or the data literacy side forever. My technical skills aren't the strongest, but where my data skills are really good is seeing strategy or what people can do. And so to geek out and see you're having problems here and come up with 8 solutions or 5 solutions or whatever it is, and be like, there you go, Nike of all companies, go have some fun, right? And I mean, it's been companies when the pandemic hit, I used to travel the world, right? And I thought my calendar was going to get smaller. I thought I was going to be more open. I'm not traveling anymore. I got busier. Yeah. And I think it's because companies were like, dude, we got to talk to the data literacy nerd here because we're not data driven like we should be. Yeah. And you have Disney calling up and things like that. So it's unreal. Like I said, I never would have imagined being where it is today, but hey, I'll take it. It's awesome.
Yeah. You don't have any partners or anything, right?
Just me.
Just you.
But I mean, that being said, there are people out there, like one person, it was her who told me people call me the Godfather of data literacy because her nickname's the Godmother. So she worked at Gartner, that company I mentioned, and wrote the article about data literacy, not knowing that I was already doing something along those lines. Yeah. She has a company out there that is her own, her little niche in how she does. There's a guy named Ben Jones who I think I've probably helped mentor to start his data literacy company, and he has his focus. And there are times I'll partner with people or tag team with people, but it's been a one-man show, and that led to problems, burnout, right? When you are traveling the globe, doing all this, man, my body shut down. Yeah. And so there's the fun, exciting, going to Singapore, going to Australia, all these cool places, all the while eventually my body was like, here's your middle finger. I've got to rest. Yeah. And so, but yeah, it's cool.
Because you are a very physical guy as well.
Love it. Absolutely, man.
You're doing ultras.
I've done, I don't know, that 13 or 14 ultras, and I have finished all but 2. And the 2 I didn't finish were this race, the Leadville 100, the exact same race.
Oh, really?
It's hell, man. It is. I had a good race this year, but its cutoffs are so aggressive. Yeah. That, you know who David Goggins is?
I was just going to ask you about
his latest book. He talks about Leadville a lot. He ran it in 2019. I was out there pacing someone and saw him. And my buddy and I, who were pacing another friend of ours, geeked out because it was like, well, that's Goggins. The guy's yoked in person. And people know that. But when you think of ultra marathons, I'm 5'10", whatever. He's like 6'4" and jacked, and you're like,
yeah,
you got to go.
Were you able to meet him?
No, he was out running.
I was going to say, you just kind of leave him alone, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't even talk. I didn't know.
But he would. And he talks about it in the book, how he was stopping to take pictures during the race.
Really? Okay, cool.
But pardon, my daughter's right here, knowing, can I swear enough here?
You can swear.
Knowing the fucking shit you go through in an ultra, I would not want to disturb him.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, I tried Leadville twice. Last year, 2020, what year is it? 2021 is, I had a UTI infection a week and a half before the race. Oh. That's something men don't get a lot of.
Yeah.
Right? The medication they put me on could cause, I don't remember the exact word, inflamed or burst tendons. Sure enough, at mile 17, my right knee starts having an issue. Never quit. That is a race you legitimately commit that you won't quit. But I don't know if I ever wanted to, up until that point, ever wanted to miss a cutoff more. Because I couldn't run downhill. And down the mountain is when you gain time. And so, and then this year, mental health, and I had long COVID. It was just like, it just wasn't I had a good race. I had a friend who was out there to pace and crew. She's like, man, why is he pushing cutoffs? So here in Utah, there's the Wasatch 100. It has a cutoff of, it's like 38 or 40 hours. Bear Lake 100, the Bear 100 has 36. Leadville is 30 hours, and a lot of the races above 10,000 feet of elevation. So you're just go, 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 go. To give an idea of how hard it is, July of this year and here in Utah, there's a Speed Goat 50K. I've done it 3 times. I did it in July. To do 50K, 32 miles was, how long did it take me? 12 hours plus? I did 32 miles in Leadville in like, I don't remember, 8 or 9. Right. And I still missed the cutoff.
Yeah.
So I love any challenge to push me to hell. Will I ever do another ultra? Leadville broke me, man. When you have a good race, I was pretty good afterward. I was pretty proud. The next day you're in tears because it's like, man, I did not make it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I'll ever do another ultra. I'm sure it's somewhere in there. But since then, it's been, you train so much on your feet with mountains and running. Now it's been tons of weightlifting, hitting that again. My wife and I built up a gym at home that's fantastic. So it's like, we'll see if I do another ultra. But yeah, any way I love the pain.
Well, tell me about the mindset, right? So, because mindset is such it's almost a buzzword nowadays, but it's such a real thing, right?
It is 100%.
So when you start that, what is your mindset starting an ultra?
Oh my gosh. I think I agree with you. So many people talk about mindset. I don't know if they truly know how to talk about it, right? I mean, it's to do an ultra. I don't care. For those that don't know, the beginning distance of an ultra is 50K pretty much, about 31 miles roughly. And there's an old podcast, I think it's still around, I don't listen to it anymore, called Trail Runner Nation, and they talked about it. I did my first ultra, I think it was 2014, where you have the lowest of lows. Mentally, you are literally just done, and the highest of highs. So I'll talk about that Speed Goat race here and kind of talk about the mentality you're talking about. Yeah. Speed Goat this year, July, Utah, we had, the hottest 100-day record, like 23 or whatever. So that was the hardest race I think that I have ever finished. I didn't know it at the time, but my watch estimated I lost over 23 pounds of sweat during that race. So dehydration killed me. So I'm sitting there during the race, and it's about pace. So kind of when you're talking about mindset, I think people are like, oh, it just means you get after it. No, the right mindset says, what's a good pace? Because if I go out too hot, you're going to burn out, right? If I go out too slow, am I going to miss cutoffs, right? So you have to balance that. Is my hydration there? Is my nutrition there? What am I going to do during the lowest of lows, right? And I hit it in this race. I don't know if I've ever wanted to quit more in my life. I never quit, but I don't know if I would have been sad missing a cutoff. And then you have to be shipped out, right? They have to you have to check out or whatever that you're not going on, I believe, at that race. So yeah. I'm sitting there, I think, texting my wife. So those who don't know about Speed Goat starts at Snowbird, Utah, 32 or so miles, has over 11,000 feet of vertical gain during the race. The guy who owns the race is Carl Meltzer, lives in Utah. His nickname is Speed Goat Carl. I think he's still the winningest 100-mile racer ever, and he likes to make you hurt. Like, this is not going to be easy. So I'm going through the race, doing pretty well. I think I'm well ahead of cutoffs. And you start off and you go up to Hidden Peak. It's, I think, your first time at over 11,000 feet. I think you hit it 3 times or 4 times during the race. You go way down. I forget the name of the aid station. Then you have to come back. The back half is where hell is. It's hot and you climb more. And I'm texting my wife. I'm like, I don't know if I had a break in my ankle or whatever it was. It rolled during the race. It wasn't good. Just not in a good spot. I'm dehydrated. I didn't know that's what's happening. Climbing is my strength, and I couldn't climb well. So talking about the mindset, this is where you figure out who you are and can you do something. So my kids came to the race, and if they were not on top of Hidden Peak, which is your second ascent of it, and it is your, so 1, 2, 3, 4th big climb or 4th big summit, okay? If they weren't there, I don't know if I finish. But they could tell you if they were here with you that I would go 20 feet or whatever it was, and I would stop and rest on my poles. It wasn't like I didn't want to go. I couldn't go. So when you talk about mindset, I think, I don't know how to describe it. I'm with you that it's kind of catchy. It's buzzword. People have the right mindset. That's not all that it is, right? I think part of it is having that mindset that I never quit. I didn't want to go, but I literally kept going, right? That's a mindset that you have, that no matter the hell you're going through, 1 foot after another, or take a pause, go 10 feet, take a pause, go 10 feet. Doesn't seem like fun, and it's not. But it's being willing to put yourself in that pain cave. And that's one thing I love, the pain cave. Like, people work out, I think, a lot of times for the results. Who doesn't, right? But man, I want it to freaking hurt. I want to feel the pain. I want to suffer through it. So the mindset of an ultra is, I think it's Goggins who says the finish line isn't a finish line, right? It's on to the next thing, or however he says it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I did speed go. Well, what's next? I did not finish Leadville. All right. Now we're going to weightlift for a while. Will we ever get back to an ultra? Who knows? I get up every day between, well, most days, Monday through Friday, between 4 and 5 a.m. I'm reading, journaling, working out. If I'm writing a book, I might be writing a book, meditating maybe. That's mindset. It's not just a catchy thing. It's who I am. And that might be the way I would define it for you. Yeah. A mindset is who you are, not just something you think, oh, I'm going to have the right mindset. Well, your actions are going to back that up or not. Right.
Now, when you say you like the pain of it, what do you like about the pain?
Well, so weightlifting, man, you're on whatever set, right? That pain is, I love feeling pain during a workout, but I think there's something about an ultra marathon that is so raw. I don't know if you could get it elsewhere, right? I finished that race, and my daughter, who's in the room, can tell you this. I didn't know I had lost over 23 pounds of sweat, estimated by the watch. My hand would cramp, like just cramp. And my kids, I would ask them to open it because you're cramped, right? I don't know what it is about that kind of suffering to literally go through some of the worst things you can go through. You might be crapping yourself. You might be throwing up. I've forced myself to throw up during a race, right? Yeah. Peeing so thick or whatever that you better be peeing or else you're not hydrated enough. You know what I mean? But to then finish that and to literally look back and be like, yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. I was able to do that. Hurt like hell, but man, I was able to do that. So that's suffering to me. I would rather be bluntly told something than to be coddled in a way that does not let me become a better person. Right. And an ultra might be the best way to strip yourself raw and to truly see if you could do it. Like we Are the Day, where at the event in February, Matthews is going to take us on a shirtless hike. Hell yeah, man. Like, I don't know about you. Like, I've gone when it was, 0 degrees or below 0 on the trail. I'm hot. Like, it's not going to feel that bad. When it's going to be bad is when we get down, our core temperature is, we're so revved up, or your core is what's going to get cold. Right? Yeah. You might be cold for a few hours after. I don't know if people realize that. It might not be during the hike, but let's go suffer and see what it's like. Yeah. Right? I know you had a guest you were interviewing before where it was like sauna, cool ice bath, sauna. Yeah. Freak yeah. Let's go see what that does to me to see how I can handle it. I love that. I love pushing it to see what you can do.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. It's an extreme way of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, because most people want to stay in their comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
The comfort zone is where people are comfort.
Well, I hate comfort. Like, and I look at it, it's, you know, my wife would be like, I love it. And I'm like, well, let's drive with the windows down in winter. Let's see what I got. Let's see what we could do. Like I take my dogs out in the morning and it's freezing. It's like, let's go stand out there in my shorts or whatever and go feel it. Let's go feel it. And, but I will say this, there is a balance, right? Because I, like a lot of people, when I burned out doing data literacy, traveling the world, I had officially diagnosed burnout to depression, suicidal thoughts. I hated speaking on data literacy. The thing that I help invent, hated speaking on it. So you can go too extreme where your body does not react the right way. So even though I have this mentality, I believe massively in getting enough sleep, of backing off when, like today, in my workout, I wanted to run. My knee had a pain that was not just a little sore pain. All right, let's back off. Wait, like that's not a normal feeling that you're feeling. Okay, so you live to see another day. And I think that that's a vulnerability that when you have the extreme mindset, you have to have a balance in there, or it can lead you into a path that I've been there, so dark that it's not enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be weird.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to describe it. Like literally being probably the world's leading voice in that topic and hating to speak on it, hating to deal with it. Right. And I still am seen as the world's leading voice. And gratefully now there's a balance. I didn't see the checks and balances. Boom. I could tell you where I was. I was on a trip in Spain and I didn't necessarily like leaving the kids to travel. The weird anxiety that I felt that trip. Yeah. The last night I was there, I didn't sleep. Right. And jet lag was not something that would bother me too bad. Get home. And I don't think it was long after that. My body was like, all right, here's my middle finger. You're done. Like I can't push like this. And when that happened, then sure enough, I paid the price.
Yeah. So when you look to the future, if you're not going to do ultras, what are you going to do to fill that? Oh,
different goals, different targets. Like I still work out, how much? An hour and a half a day, you know, minimum. But that's a lot, right? There's different goals you want to hit. And the thing that's important to me, like we were talking about, or not you, Dakota, who works for the podcast, we were talking about a book called Endurance. And he was thinking, no, I've heard of Endure by Cam Hanes, right? I don't know where I was going with that. Lost my train of thought. But anyway, like where do you go with things? I'm always going to have something to challenge me. I've already got book 4 that I'm going to write. Here's the thing though, I'm going to tell my publisher I won't start for like 6 months. I went 3 straight years of writing a book.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. I never would have understood how much it is. It was a lot of weight. And so it's like, nope, I need a break. That's a challenge, writing a book. It could be going on my own. That might be the challenge. I'll never lose fitness, right? I love it too much. So the challenge might be bodybuilding some. It might be going back to ultras. It might be a couple years of just having good, fun, hard adventures, pushing limits, seeing what you can do, but not having that very strict, I need this many miles a week. I've got to hit this or I'm not going to finish this race. It's much more enjoyable when you don't have, I have 60 miles I've got to hit this week versus I want to weight lift hard today. Oh, I'm not feeling it today. Let's do some yoga and some walking. Go back to it the next day. I like that. I like having more structure, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you think that the physical side of your life has helped the financial side of your life?
I think, so to me, there's kind of this, there are multiple legs to a stool that balance your life out, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, financial, whatever. And when one of those is off, it's going to, like, think about a stool. If it's a 4-legged stool, one of them is cut short, that thing is going to be wobbly, right? I would rather feel secure. Does that mean that you're always in balance and always harmonized? Of course not. I think that when people say work-life balance, I think it was Jeff Bezos who said work-life harmony. There are going to be moments you're not in balance, right? And then you redirect and you become more in balanced, right? If you're launching a product or this, right? You launch a podcast, you go at it hard, you do it, and then you finally find the niche and you find where you're going, right? And so being where you should be physically, I think is a key to everything else, right? If you're not where you want to be physically, Are you going to be sleeping right, which impacts mental health, which could impact financial health? Because are you feeding your mental health by spending sprees? All of these different things. So for me, being physically, not necessarily, you don't need the 8-pack. You don't need to be able to bench 500 pounds. You don't need to be able to do that. But are you fit and healthy? It's going to make you feel good about yourself. If you feel good about yourself, you have a positive outlook, or it could be better, right? Versus, oh man, I did this. Now, the one thing I don't like is how much, I don't want to call it the shaming side of things, right? But people get that way, right? It's like, oh, I had a cookie. Darn it, I just lost. Who cares? You had a cookie. That's not the end of it. Just get back up and do it the next day, right? And so, but for me, kind of to your point, being where you should be physically will help you mentally. It's going to help you with your family. It's going to help you in your job. It'll help you with finances, whatever your spiritual goal attainment is. Being physically fit empowers you in so many different ways. But there, again, you can't go too extreme because then it might limit in other areas.
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting way to balance with people because, gosh, there's just so many TikTok gurus, right? Social media gurus that say these things, say these little things. Yes. But it's really about consistency. It's
who was I thinking of the other day? Oh, I don't want to harp on things, but let's talk about Zach Wilson in the NFL right now. He's got flashes of greatness, but not consistent goodness right now, right? I would rather have consistently good outcomes than moments of greatness. Right. So you watch a TikToker who says, do this, and you do it for a week and you had a moment of greatness, and then 5 straight weeks of back in the old habits. Versus you don't do what that TikToker said or that social media influencer and you had 6 weeks of consistent good outcomes. I'm with you. It's consistency, right? That's like for me, why my morning routine matters so much. Because if it's off, I feel like the rest of the day is off.
Yeah.
Being consistent on that morning routine matters greatly versus, oh, I got up early once this week. It's not going to cut it for me. I'm a morning person though, obviously, if I'm up between 4 and 5. If you're not a morning person, don't push to be a morning person.
Right.
Find your consistency elsewhere. But I love how you said that because I think you see flashes of greatness on social media, but what you haven't seen leading to that person looking that way or being as fit as they are the however months or time periods of consistency that got them where they are.
Right. So how did you find that you liked ultras and stuff like that?
This is I don't know the answer to that question. I remember, I think one time I was at Salt Lake Running Company. We're talking maybe back in 2012. And in the clearance shoe rack. Now, to be perfectly frank, I was not in shape. Like you get married, you got the freshman 15 in college. Man, I was the married 50 in like 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think part of what got me into running was wanting to be fit. Like my family's history is diabetes, heart disease, and these things. Can I be better than that? So I think that's part of it. So I get running and doing road stuff, and I saw a pair of trail shoes at Salt Lake Running Company, and they were on clearance. I was like, well, let's do it. Let's get these shoes. And so then I start doing simple trails that aren't far from my house. Little did I know what is out there in Utah. The trails are freaking amazing. And then I think I stumbled on that podcast, Trail Runner Nation. It's talking about Speed Goat, that race. It's like, oh, this is cool. So I found an ultra in Moab. It was hard as can be, and rest is history, man. Then it's like, fell in love with the mountains. I don't know if I ever thought, I grew up out of the state of Utah where we didn't have mountains really. Yeah. Come here, I don't know if I really ever got into them. Then you go up on a mountain, like I was on our mutual friend, Jimmy Rex, right? I took him up to a trail called Lake Blanche up Big Cottonwood Canyon. I have a dog named Blanche, right? After that lake, no matter that my wife says it's the Golden Girls, but it's Lake Blanche, right? Jimmy and I went up to that lake. 3 moose are at the lake. I think 1 or 2 of them are in the lake, and one was in the lake. I want to say 2 were on the side eating. Eventually one of them swims across the lake. It's like we just perched and looked. Right? You're no TV. You're not hearing necessarily cars right there, all that, and probably don't have good phone service up. It's literally you and nature, right? I had a friend say to me once that God speaks to you in a way, how did she say it? That you'll hear or whatever. Yeah. Mountains are spiritual, man. And fell in love with them. And then it was like, all right, you do one, and then what more can you do? And then found a group of friends that introduced me to other trails here in Utah. And they're like, yeah, this is awesome. And I love it. I love it.
So when you're running, are you listening to music?
Depends. It very much depends. If the scary experience I had once, I'm up, I think, no, I shouldn't say I think, yeah, I know or pretty much know I'm up. Why can't I think? Mill Creek, right? Where Grandeur is. I'm up going up, I think it was Desolation. I have one earbud in, semi-dark, headlamp on, me, two people, we have dogs. And the dogs come charging down. I think they're just playing, running back and forth. I look up and my headlamp is reflecting off something that is charging down the mountain. I thought it was a person at first, like whether it was their eyes or their vest. It was a moose charging down the mountain. Got to about the camera that is videoing me. Yeah. The person behind me, we're going uphill. The person behind me could see the moose's like face. That's how big this thing was. Yeah. For whatever, moose don't have good eyesight, is my understanding. I think it finally realized that we're something. It bolted down. It jumped the same way I did, though. I went behind a tree. It went down the mountain. Yeah. Got within like 4 or 5 feet. They could hear it. I could not. So it just depends on where I am, what trail I'm on, and do I know it's safe or it's not safe. Okay. I love listening to music.
So my question is, what do you listen to when you're doing it?
Yeah, it's if I've got music, it'll sit like here. It might not be AirPods. It might just be sitting in the vest, and then you can hear it. One reason you do that is to scare animals away. Right. And so and now what would I listen to? It all depends. It could be super hard rock, could be hip hop, might be chill if you're just looking for a chill day out there and you want your mind to be able to go. Just all depends on what, like doing an ultra, it might be stand-up comedy at some point, might be a podcast at some point, might be a book at some point, might be music, might be nothing.
Just swap it around.
It's just swapping around to the mile after mile after mile. You just need a little something at times. Yeah.
So during an ultra, it's a safe environment. Are you listening to something the whole time?
It kind of depends. They are safe, but they're not per se. So Leadville, there was one of their races. They have a series of races that are spread out over weeks. A bear ran through the runners. So it just kind of, daylight, I'm much more likely to have AirPods out. Yeah. Everything in the dark looks like a freaking mountain lion, even though it might be a stick, right? You just get it in your mind. But yeah, a lot of ultras or it depends. If you're running it with someone, you might stick with that person. So you're chatting, or you come up on people and you're chatting with them. Yeah. An ultra makes it much more safe than just being in the mountains alone. And then you have certain trails, like there's a mountain here in Utah called Grandeur. If you do the west face of it, you're literally just scaling up the west face of the mountain. I could listen to stuff that whole time and probably not care one bit. If I'm up the canyon, I'm going to care a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah.
So did you ever run with like a gun?
No, I've never had a gun. I've had mace or bear spray, but I've run with people who have guns. Right. Yeah. And rightfully so.
Because here in Utah, mountain lions are a real thing.
I've had one stalk me. Right. Oh, yeah. I had a friend, we were talking about, it wasn't this year's race, but Speed Goat. I keep coming back to, but it's just a big one.
It was impactful, I get it.
Well, different year. Yeah. And I think I was running it and she was pointing down the mountain and I thought she was talking about the terrain you're going to be on. And she was like, no, Jordan, look, you turn your headlamp and there its eyes just staring at you. And you're just like, oh. So you don't turn around. So you're walking backwards. The problem was the way that the trail zigzagged is we were going back in its path. And it stalked us for a while. And then eventually, I think we might have woken it. Right. Not a good thing. When it finally realized we're not a threat or whatever, off it went. So yeah, I've had encounters. You'll smell, I mean, not to be gross, you'll smell their pee, right? Really? You'll smell mountain lion pee. Yeah. So thankfully, the moose was actually the scariest running I've ever had. Moose just don't care. Mountain lions don't want to be around you, right? But moose just don't give 2 cents, man. And
I've only seen a moose one time in real life, and it was on a scout camp. I was about 17, though, or 16, 17. And I remember thinking that is much larger than I thought it was going to be.
They are like one of the funniest encounters I had. I was with my wife up at Alta. And we're walking, you could see the moose a quarter of a mile away. We are past it. And I don't know what made us look. It's charging at us. It's a young bull moose. So I'm thinking it was young, adolescent. Antlers aren't huge. Yeah. And I have to yell at my wife because she wasn't going fast enough. I'm like, no, go. And we got behind this gate where the gate was such that you can't, there's no fence. It's just a gate, service road or whatever. We went around it. as it like circling it. And then it went up. But I don't know what it was, but I had to yell at my wife because it's like, you're not running. They're huge.
Yeah.
Like, people do not get them. And when you study them, what you learn is they are trying to get fat during the summer for the lean months that are in the winter. And so then people who go and irritate them, I've seen a person get like within 5 feet of one just for the pick. And you're like, I don't have a problem if that thing stomps you. Yeah. That's their property, not yours. This is their land that we're on. Like, I took my daughter who's sitting by us here up that Lake Blanche once, and sure enough, 20 feet off the trail, it was like I picked her up, and it's like, okay. It's like, don't mess with them. They do not like you. They don't care. They're going to charge you down. Yeah. So, but they are magnificent. I love the animal. They are magnificent, freaking massive. Like, I'm 5'10". Yeah. What are you, 6'5"?
6'7".
6'7", my goodness. And there they are towering at like 8 or 9 feet. And you're just like...
You want to feel small, get around.
Oh my gosh, they are just massive. They're awesome though. Love them. So I'll take you up Lake Blanche. You see them up there all the time.
Yeah, on a hike, right? Not for a run.
We'll go hike. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll take the walk group up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should.
They love hiking. Everyone
absolutely,
loves hiking. Man. I feel like sometimes that's our like default to, well, we got a spare hour. Let's go hike something.
Go hike.
Like,
well, the best is when you see the videos when you're like, okay, we'll carry someone while we hike. You're like, all right, awesome.
Yeah, I was one of those dudes. That was a funny moment, man, because it's weird. It actually started hurting.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you're just like uncomfortable.
It's not like it's level.
No. Well, then you're walking all up sorts of stuff. But you've got, for me, it was like 5 or 6 dudes that were carrying me, right? I'm north of 300.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I'm like, I will not complain for 1 second. Because it got to the point where I was like, this is really hurting. Yeah,
I'm going to have to walk after this, guys. My back hurts. Can we just go? That's awesome.
And then I don't know how far we went, 1,000 yards or 1,500 yards or something. And they put me down, we were able to get put down and all that stuff. And I'm just like, oh, that freaking hurts.
You're at that point. I'm going to tell you all, that was not comfortable. Yeah, I know it's hard for you carrying. It hurts.
But when we kind of integrated at the end, right, they were asking about that. How did it feel to be on top, And it's like, well, it hurt, number one, but it also made me think, there's no way I'm going to complain. No. But then I'm also like, I don't like being the one on top. I'd rather pick a little guy up.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is probably the exact opposite of what Jimmy wanted or what they wanted at that event, right?
No, they wanted you to think that. They wanted you to feel that way.
Oh, yes, they wanted you to feel that way, but they're not going to let it happen.
No, oh, heck no. No.
It's like, no, Mark, you're 6'7", man. You're going up.
Well, I was like, hey, you 6 big boys, they're going to pick you up.
I'm picking my team. Here we go. That's awesome.
So it was good, man. I'm glad you're in the We Are the Day.
I'm excited.
You're gonna like it. Are you in the tribe or are you in the?
I'm doing the data forum. I'm going to be doing both. Like I'm going to be studying what's happening. You're going to see a survey come out soon. Yeah. Because I really want to dig into. There's 2 types of data. Well, there's multiple types of data, but you could probably classify them all into 2. There's qualitative. Think about a survey. And then there's quantitative. Yeah. Like I'm going to study both. And in talking to Jimmy, part of that's going to be going to the leadership events and finding out what you're doing, why you like it, how's it operating, what events are you going to, what ones aren't you going to, why aren't you going to them? And then looking at the online tribe group and being like, okay, what's drawing people here versus this? Where's the price point that matters most? What kind of trips entice the different groups better? Yeah. And then that way, when Jimmy and I'm helping him plan out his stuff, he can fully integrate all of his intuition, all the thoughts that people have.
Yeah, and he's maximizing the
so that, you saw probably his goal, 2,000 members by the end of the year? Yeah. Well, let's use some data to make that happen.
Yeah, how to make that happen. I like that.
Yeah, this should be fun. It'll be one of those where it'll be time consuming, but that's where I say.
So when you do this, right, when you learn these data and you learn these trends, that data is actually gold because then you could take somebody else and replicate
100%
straight into a different program.
And the thing that I think matters to me a lot is it's not who's there, it's who's not there and why. If I go through the trends and I find it's all 35 to 45-year-old males who come from this background, this demographic, this, and that makes up 2% of the population. What's with the other 98% that are not here?
Right.
How do we target that group to let them know they're welcome to it? So you're exactly right. It's transposing and saying, here's all the trends. 90% of the guys are saying this is why they joined. Why aren't the other 10% thinking that? Why did they join? It's these things. So Jimmy, when you target your marketing, yes, hit home on this. This is your bread and butter, but we want to grow the 10% so that it's 50-50. That's hopefully a way that you're growing. I don't want to say exponentially, but in such a way that your 2,000 is a small number.
Yeah.
Let's get 5 or 10. And there are 4 levels. I won't go too deep into it. It's what my 3rd book's about. 4 levels of analytics. There's descriptive analytics. We want to describe what's happening. That would be who's joined, why they joined, etc. Or not why. That's the 2nd level. Diagnostic analytics. Why is this occurring? Why are they not coming? Then you go predictive analytics and you build predictions. And then you study those predictions. And then you get to prescriptive analytics, and that's the Terminator. Robots are taking over, where I'm going to use machine learning and these different technologies to predict or tell us what we should be doing. And then you combine that with thoughts. I never want the data to take over. I want the human to take over, using the data to supplant it. So it could be like, think about Tony Robbins. Yeah, let's build it that big and use this as a tool to make all that happen. It wouldn't shock me within 2 to 3 years if it's a full-time gig for me. Because think about it, if you have 5, 10, 20,000 people and you're doing multiple events around the world and all these things, all that information's coming in and we have to dissect it in a good way.
Right.
So it's going to be fun, man.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a hard out here in 5 minutes.
I do.
So I need to hear your best 2 minutes of advice.
Best 2 minutes of advice, man. How many different types of advice can I give? I'm probably going to give multiple.
Pick your favorite.
Number 1, be vulnerable if you're a guy, right? Anybody. It's not just a guy. Like, I want people to talk. We can hide behind distractions every day of our life. The phone, our careers. It could, and I'm not saying to do it, we could hide behind creating podcasts. I can hide behind hide behind lifting weights. Quit hiding. Find your natural person. You know, I'm reflecting a lot right now, reading a couple books, one book in particular on, if we think about our life, we're in Utah. LDS culture is massive. A lot of people who are I'm still into faith, but I don't call it a faith crisis like people are saying. It's a renaissance.
Yeah.
Do I feel these sort of things still? Because a lot of what we're taught or what we become in our life is because someone told us that's what you should be doing, right? And versus taking a step back and really dissect who you are. Does that matter to you, right? I love being a nerd, right? Totally will own that. Am I this person anymore? Am I that person anymore? Do I believe this anymore? It's one of those that, yeah, I still have my faith in some ways and these different things that are out there. But my number 1 bit of advice is truly figure out who you are. Discover what means something to you and attack it. Don't half-ass one thing in your life, because then you're just selling yourself short.
Awesome. No, I love it.
Cool, man.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, my friend.
Thank you, man. This is awesome. I appreciate it.
That was a long time coming.
It is. It is.
So.
COVID plays too many games.
Oh, gosh. The COVID years. I can't wait to hear about them when I'm like 90.
We'll be sitting there talking,
like,
do you remember? Yeah, it's like I walked up both hills with a mask on. That'll be the new story, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, cool, my friend. Thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.